Simon Peter's brother. He first found his brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which is translated, anointed. He brought Simon to Jesus, who looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You are to be called Cephas," which is translated, Peter. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please join me in prayer. Creator God, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. My name is Hannah Woffler-Kemp, and I am the program director at Good Earth Village, and I am here with our executive director, Diana Parks. Thank you for inviting Good Earth Village to worship with you this morning. We are grateful for our continued partnership with our Saviors and the numerous ways that you have supported our ministry. We are very grateful for all of you, and we welcome you to come worship with us as well. So I know you raised your hands already, but raise your hand if you have heard of Good Earth Village. So I hope all of you, because we've said Good Earth Village numerous times today. Now, double raise your hand if you have ever been to Good Earth Village. Great, wonderful. We love seeing familiar faces, but also a lot of new faces. Many moons ago, when I was going into the 4th grade, my parents signed me up for summer camp at a Girl Scout camp. I had spent many summers going to a Girl Scout day camp, but now it was my chance to stay overnight for a whole week. I wasn't quite sure how I felt about this adventure ahead of me. I remember being nervous and excited, a nervous excitement flowing through my body. On one hand, I loved the outdoors, exploring and wandering and playing. But on the other hand, I didn't quite know what it was going to be like to be gone for so long in unknown territory. The hot July day came around and we packed my belongings into our family's green Jeep. We drove 2 hours from Duluth to the deep woods of northern Wisconsin. Arriving at camp, we went through the check-in process and my parents walked me to my cabin to greet my counselor. Then it was time for the dreaded goodbye. So I gave each of my parents a long hug, and I pushed back the tears that were about to flood out like a waterfall. My parents' version of this moment was after saying goodbye, they walked a little ways down the trail and hid behind a tree, peeking out to make sure that I was okay. They waited for a few minutes, went down the trail again, and then peeked out, making sure I was settling in okay. And I had no idea they were watching over me. But I settled in all right. The rest of the day passed by quick. We unpacked our belongings, I made sure to get a top bunk. We played some name games with our cabin mates, ate dinner, which wasn't as good as my parents', and had a tour of camp, and then closed the evening with campfire. After campfire, I began to miss home a lot. I felt very uncomfortable being in a new place with unfamiliar faces. When my counselor noticed my tears, she came over to me, knelt down beside me, and told me she felt the exact same way when she came to camp for the first time. She told me it would be okay, and she asked me what I looked forward to that week. During that week, she supported me by making sure I felt included and listened to. I don't remember a whole lot about that week, but I do remember the feeling of being welcomed and included. By the end of the week, I was crying again, but not because I was homesick, but because I didn't want to go home. I wanted to stay at camp forever. And since that summer experience, I really have never left camp. I went off to college and did some things, but I always stayed around the camp world. After attending that Girl Scout day camp for 6 more summers and a Lutheran camp for another summer, I spent 6 summers working as a member of summer staff at 2 different Lutheran camps. One of the camps I worked at was near the Boundary Waters, and this next story takes place in that setting about 6 years ago. On one of the evenings of the summer staff gathered together on a Saturday evening around a blazing campfire. A fire which took multiple matches and many prayers to start. As we huddled around the fire, we filled the warm summer air with songs of praise and prayers of healing and thanksgiving. In the midst of this gathering, we participated in communion. A loaf of bread from the camp kitchen and a chalice of grape Kool-Aid were laid out on a blanket. We did not have an ordained pastor present to bless these items in the sacred way we do here at church, so we did a remembrance of communion. Our program director began by saying, about 2,000 years ago, in a group about this big, Jesus gathered with his friends for a meal. What happened next, she asked us. Slowly, popcorn style, people spoke up, adding in parts of the story. Kelly added, this was the last meal with his friends. Eric added, Jesus washed his disciples' feet. Caroline chimed in, Jesus broke the bread. Becca shared, then he broke it and he said, this is my body. Katie added, he picked up the wine. Braden added, Jesus said, this is my body. And I added, do this in remembrance of me. We began to weave the story together piece by piece, each sharing the parts that we remembered and reminding each other the things that we didn't remember. On a night like this, Christ shared a meal with his friends. One staff member turned to another while placing a piece of bread in their hands. She said, this is Christ's body broken for you. She held up the Kool-Aid and gave it for the person to drink, saying, this is Christ's blood shed for you. We continued passing the bread and the Kool-Aid around to each person, each one ripping a piece of the bread and sharing the words of Jesus' body and blood to the person next to them. The words and the blessings that were said varied from person to person. Some said, this is the body, here's the Kool-Aid. Some said, here's Christ's body and his blood. Even when the words that were said varied, the meaning behind them were kept holy. And although the bread and the wine were not blessed in the sacred way we did here at church, the meaning behind these elements still existed. Everyone around the circle was invited to share in this meal. Throughout the breaking of the bread and the Kool-Aid, laughter and smiles were abundant, and we began to share stories and reflect on the past 12 weeks of summer. The weeks that were hard and challenging, and the weeks that were uplifting and soul-giving. I felt the Holy Spirit blowing in the wind. God's love shined as bright as a star-filled sky. And in that moment, God's presence burned as bright as our campfire. In our scripture text this morning, we have two disciples beginning to follow Jesus. Jesus asks them, what are you looking for? And the disciples reply, a rabbi, a teacher. They ask Jesus, where are you staying? And Jesus replies to their question with, come and see. The simple phrase, come and see, is an invitation to an experience, an opportunity to explore the intersection of faith and community, an invitation that you can't explain, but is best experienced and felt, an invitation to ask questions, an invitation to understand vulnerability, grace, and unconditional love, an invitation to walk alongside one another on holy ground. The invitations I experienced in the stories I shared with you weren't a formal invitation written on fancy paper and lots of glitter, even though we used lots of glitter at camp. They were an invitation through actions of welcoming and belonging, an invitation to step into a community and to step into a place that was unfamiliar and unknown. So I ask you, what happens when we invite people? How does that make people feel? An invitation allows people to encounter shared humanity, space to share our stories and expand our understanding of the world around us. And Jesus is an example of how we can be an invitation of God's love and grace, calling each one of us to invite all to experience God's love through our actions. And I wonder how the disciples were feeling in this moment with Jesus. How would you feel hearing the words, "Come and see"? Were the disciples filled with that same nervous excitement that younger Hannah felt heading to camp for the first time? Or that feeling of summer staff Hannah being filled with peace, being surrounded by community? Were they aware of the transformation of mind and spirit that was soon to take place in the world? Well, when we read the stories in the Bible, what do they tell us about God? What do these stories tell us about ourselves? And in light of who God is and what God is doing, what do these stories tell us about who we are and how we are called to respond to what God is doing? And also, what does it tell us about our relationship to each other and to the whole world? Oofda. Those are a lot of questions to wrestle with. And I encourage you to take some time to reflect on your experiences of receiving and offering an invitation to come and see. At camp, we strive to meet questions of doubt and wonder with joy and affirmation. We invite you to come and see Good Earth Village. We invite you to experience faith through creation and community. We invite you to come splash in the creek, even when it's really cold. We invite you to come make a meal over the fire. We invite you to worship with us around a campfire. And we invite you to enter a space where you are affirmed as a beloved child of God. Camp is a place filled with unconditional love, overflowing joy, and where Christ-centered community is felt at its core. We provide space for retreats all year round and programs during the summer months for all ages. Our programs provide opportunities for people from preschool all the way up to grandparents and different backgrounds to be themselves, engage with their peers and mentors, and explore their faith in God's beautiful creation. We strive to create an environment that is a safe space, relational, participatory, unplugged, and faith-centered. Campers are encouraged to try new activities, meet new friends, learn team-building skills, be creative, and sing joyfully. And most importantly, learn what it means to live as God's beloved children in the world. Every year, there is a summer theme. And this summer, the theme is Created Good, based on the text from Genesis, and God said that it was good. We are surrounded by God's creation at camp. We hike through the tall trees, splash through the cool creek, sing songs under the stars during campfire, and experience the beauty of the driftless region. As we become more aware of the world around us, appreciation of the earth follows. So this summer, we will be living into the name Good Earth Village. How are we called to nurture and care for all of God's creation? So through worship, songs, spiritual practices, environmental education, and much more, campers will be encouraged to reflect on their role on this good earth. Each day, campers will learn about a local native species, think creatively about being stewards of the earth, and get a little dirty as we play and pray in God's beloved wilderness. I could go on and on and on and on and on about camp, but camp is best understood through experience. There are 147 days until campers arrive at Good Earth Village. I might be the only one counting down, but it's an exciting countdown. We have a table in the back of the sanctuary with more information about ways to be a part of our community. And we welcome you after worship to come share your camp stories. Come and see. Come and discover more about yourself and the world around you. You are invited to participate in the community here at Good Earth Village. Amen.